Welcome back, everybody, to the Nevin Shapiro Show. I'm Mike Tirado. I'm here with Nevin Shapiro. And today we have another special guest for you guys, a former Miami Hurricane who played during the Nevin Shapiro era and also the starting linebacker on the Baltimore Ravens as well, played with Ray Lewis. We got a really special episode for you guys, Tavares Gooden. Thanks, Tavares, for you coming on. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. All about the U, of course. Before the video starts, guys, please click that subscribe button. We're dropping videos every week for you guys. We are now sponsored by BTN Connect, backed by Athlete Narrative, the all-in-one recruiting platform getting athletes seen, signed, and to the next level. And of course, as always, let's get into the action. Obviously, you're a Fort Lauderdale, South Florida guy. You know, from the very beginning, for the fans and the people that are just kind of getting to know you, how did football start from the beginning for you?
Football started for me through my dad. It all starts through Big Byron. I played multiple sports in Florida, and there was one way to prove that you were tough. I'm a early '80s baby. Born in that generation where you gotta be a tough guy, right? So baseball, they knew I could hit a rock with a PVC pipe, but there were still some questions about being tough. So my brother Byron Jr., great athlete, imposed his will on plenty of youth athletes and on the football field. And so for me, that's how football became something even in my life, because I wanted to prove to my dad that I was tough. That's how you got your recognition where I'm from. Either you had the girls, either you had the money or you was a tough guy. And back then, man, I didn't really have no women back then. I was a kid, and obviously the money wasn't coming in like that either. So the way to prove myself was to be a tough guy. Being from South Florida, that's the badge. That's what you always want to hold up, the tough guy badge. So I ended up trying out for football. Of course, I wasn't tough at all, being a baseball player, being a track guy. I think I quit. Well, I don't think I quit. I quit my first 2 seasons. And then my third season playing Little League football, I was 10. And I came back, and my mom was telling me, you don't got to play, boy. You're a different type of guy. You play baseball, you play other sports. Football might not be for you. And I told my mom, I promised her, I say, Mom, sign me up. Trust me, I'm not gonna quit this year. I promise I'm not gonna quit. And before the first game that I ever played, she died that year. And man, that's when football became something. It became more to me than just than anything else in life. You know what I mean? Football almost became a portal that I can see my mother, that I can vent with her. So I took it to the next level, and that's one of the reasons why I never quit. I've always been a 5-sport athlete. Went to Miami. I played 3 sports down at the U too.
Right.
So being able to, the reason why I stuck with football the most out of all the other sports that I played was because of my mom. So that's going to be my big reason why. It was toughness, and then also making a promise to my mom, and up seeing that promise when she passed away
That's
when I was
amazing.
10.
So did you grow up a UM fan, and why did you pick Miami, like, over the other scholarships that you had?
I didn't really know too much about football, honestly. Like my dad, he was the big guy. Like Byron loved the Hurricanes, he loved the Dolphins. Like all I seen was orange and green hats all in this room. So I didn't know what was which. Like I just knew that my dad was a big orange and green fan, man. That's all I knew. So, of course, growing up, I always liked the orange and green, whether it was the Dolphins, whether it's the Hurricanes. But as I got a little older, I started to be able to distinguish from the two. I go, oh, okay, Miami Hurricanes, these guys right here, they're not the Miami Dolphins. They're actually better than the Dolphins. No offense to the Dolphins. But, that was our team, because I used to always get them mixed up. And to watch my dad and for his love of the game, I became a Hurricanes fan. And I started watching some of the guys, I would say around Santana's era. I started watching, when that whole thing happened with the whole, I guess they were in trouble, I guess, with
Telegram
my guy
scandal.
taking the limo ride. That's around the time I was watching it, man. So I saw some guys. I saw the young Ed Reeds. I saw the Bubble Franks. I saw Edwin Jane Jackson. So I became a fan at that point because one, Edgerrin James looked like everybody where I'm from. So I was like, dang, like I could fit in down there. Ed's got the gold teeth. He got the dreadlocks. I say, man, we could fit in down there. And I honestly became a fan, and I watched him through the time. I know Nev, he was Willis McGahee's living scholar as well. I watched him, man. I watched McGahee. That's the first time when I seen that group, not to go into a long story, but I seen that group and I say, man, you can be big, fast, and strong. That was the first time I seen Willis McGahee. I seen Sean Taylor. I seen Kellen Winslow Jr. These are just freaks of nature. Mind you, I got put in one of those classifications also when I got to Miami, but watching them is what gave me the confidence to know that I could be a big, fast, physical freak of nature. I ain't just have to be big and slow. Andre Johnson, another guy. I got to mention Big Dre because those guys set the tones for men like me to say, okay, I can be big and fast and strong, and this is the Miami tradition. Oh, DJ Williams, I can't forget Geno Ceeder. That guy was a freak, man. And I wanted to be a part of that regime and a part of that tradition. I didn't want to just be a big guy who wasn't special. Like I said, those guys showed me that you can be big, elite, and special. And R.I.P. Sean Taylor.
Of course.
First of all, shout out to Big Byron, man. Love that. Guy's a pool shark, man. Anyway, one of the cool things, Mike, let me tell you, I remember Tavares coming in from St. Thomas. And, he was he was a living scholarship player of mine. And, that's the one part of college sports, man, and like loving the U that I miss that part of it. We're in the NIL world and it's cool. The kids are getting paid and we all know what's going on with that situation. But watching a guy like Tavares come in, a young dog, right on the heels of a DJ and a Vilma, preceded by Dan Morgan. This is what used to make it so great, man, to be a Hurricane back when, watching these kids grow up under our watch, just grow. I just had to intervene just with regards to what, man.
Oh, of course.
That was just a great, that's when college sports was amazing,
Yep.
man. Amazing. And it's not that it's not, but that's the passion that's missing in today's NIL landscape. Going to a program, stick in there, waiting your turn and go, next up. And that, that's what the fan base may not be aware of when I speak out about the homegrown kids. There's one of them.
So I'm sure some of our listeners at this point are wondering, what your relationship was with Nevin. Obviously, we're sitting next to what some call the original NIL right here. So what was your relationship like with Nevin? How did you meet him from the beginning? How did that start?
Hey, man, I was one of those guys, man. I was blessed, I was blessed. And anybody who had Nevin as a living scholar, you was the man. So, I come in there, they was like, man, we got to go to this living scholar program. And I don't know too much about none of this stuff. I'm from Dania, Florida, Hollywood, Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I'm from there. I'm from the country part of Florida. We got the city, but that's still the country part of Florida. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I just know I got an opportunity to go to university. I got an opportunity to show up and show out, and I got an opportunity to get an education. So we get there, and we have a living scholar meeting, and everybody who's a freshman, they meet with their living scholar. That's people who basically donate to the school. They give high charities to the school. They do little foundations, and they're able to sponsor you. And be you're able to be their scholarship athlete. And so that's when I met Nevin. And as soon as I met Nevin, he was just cooler than all the other people. And it's not to disrespect the other people, but he spoke the same language I was speaking. He would just say stuff, and I look and be like, "Damn, did he just say this?" You know what I'm saying? I was like, "Dang, he got swag." You know what I mean? Because I wasn't expecting him to be like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how I met Nevin. And ever since I met him, he was one of the people that helped me mature. And the reason why I say that is that we talked about being able to go anywhere in the country. We talked about those things. Ohio State, LSU, those was big teams on my radar. And I chose the University of Miami for choices, for different choices that we'll talk about later. But when I chose them, I wasn't always happy there. And I tell you, Nevin was one of the people. They could say what they want to say about Nev, but I always speak positive about him because there was thoughts that I wanted to give up football a lot of times. I wanted to retire early. We weren't even getting NIL back then, but just under the scrutiny of being a Miami Hurricane and not dealing with some of the coaching staff, some of the coaching staff rubbed me the wrong way. And I just wanted to transfer so many times. And I remember, like I said, Nevin being there, being a living scholar, being a big brother, being an unk, being somebody that's going to be like, hey, T, man, he had a bigger vision than what I had. All I can see is the now. And that's some of the things I talk to my kids now. I say, because a lot of times when we're younger, we walk around like this. All we can see is this. But I say, man, you pull that down, bro, you can see everything. And so Nevin, he removed my blinders. He was somebody there that could help me through the tough times when I was going through adversity. Because when you go to college, bro, I'm talking about the University of Miami, there's pressure. And they gave you 52. You know what I mean? It was pressure there to live up to something and to be something. So a lot of times you have these own battles inside of yourself that you're fighting. And so I tell everybody here, don't fight them battles alone. If you got somebody that's willing to help you and that's willing to talk with you, man, use them. Use the people in your life, because that's what I did. I used Nevin for that aspect. Somebody to lean on, somebody to talk to when things wasn't going right. Because you got the media scrutinizing you. You got the coaches. You got fans. You got family. You got girls. You in Miami. You got all these things that can play a factor and change your mood. And you got to think, too, when you get in there, you 17, maybe going 18. You not, you like, sometimes we put this pressure on these kids, not knowing that they 17, 18 years old. Just because they get NIL money, just because they on TV, they still children and still need somebody in their corner to hold them when they about to be down. And that's what we missing. And that's what Nevin was for me. Nevin was somebody who said, all right, this guy's huge, but he didn't look at me like everybody else looked, gold teeth and dreadlocks. Like I say, he looked at me like I was a younger brother. And that's why I always respect Nevin. That's why I always wrote Nevin. That's why me and Nevin talked, and that's why we got together as soon as he told me everything when he was out and all this stuff. And I made sure that I was going to be a part of Nevin's life, because there was plenty of opportunities. And, when I was about to quit, when it was my dad and Nevin and Robin Billy was there too. And, she was there too. And there was plenty of time, I'm telling you, they had to come down there and talk to Randy Shannon. And Nevin was right there. And so that's my relationship with Nevin. My relationship with Nevin has nothing to do with anything superficial. It has everything to do with a human being that actually cares for other human beings. That's my relationship with Nevin. He was always there. He helped me get through school. He kept me mentally positive and kept me mentally stable and kept me positive. That's my relationship with Nevin. And like I said, when I met him as a living scholar, I never knew this was going to happen. But as I kept, you got to think, at some point in time, too, you on the highest horse you can be on. So I heard Will Smith say that sometimes you can be rock bottom or you can be cliff high. And at one point in time, I was cliff high. I was so high that not a lot of people can talk to you and ask you, are you having a good day? And so a lot of times when you way up there, a lot of times you have a lot of bad days. But everybody just see you up on this thing, but you had to climb up there not knowing your fingertips ripped out, your fingers hurting. And like I said, Nevin was there to remind me who I was, why I was climbing, and showing me that, dude, you up here now. And let's stay up there. So that's who Nevin is to me. That's my big bro. Always love for Nevin, and thank you for everything, man. I really appreciate everything you did for me in college.
Yeah. Much love, homie. So, this is about Tavares, this interview. I do want to at least comment, because he was, kind and said some, really nice things, for a lot of the fan base, and, love me, hate me, whatever. Well, he was throwing boat parties and doing this and this and that. Let me tell you something. What Tavares just said resonates about a lot of guys, and he would say it without mentioning any names. He's not the only one that took place for. The fans don't owe me anything, certainly. The only ones that need to know are the guys that I looked out for, and I looked out for them for the right reasons because I knew they had it in them to go here.
Right.
And, I appreciate it, Tavares. And, and that there's always a narrative that people don't see. And,
Yep.
a couple guys that Tavares played with who are no longer here with us on earth, I felt that type of love towards those guys as well. And, we're going to keep this about Tavares, but I appreciate the words.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, Tavares. Thank you for that. And, on our show, Tavares, we obviously get into all Miami Hurricane stuff mostly. But one of the questions I always ask a former player is this question. We get a lot, and I run the social medias, and they blame Nevin for the downfall of the program, right? For the last so many years that we've been, quote unquote, mediocre. In your opinion, Tavares, why do you think it's been so long since Miami has been back to the prominence that they, once were?
Looking at it from a fan and a player's point of view, somebody being in the stands now, obviously, what I see is that the rules have changed. Like you can't be a big bad hurricane. Like that was the whole point. Like we came there to do three mother effing things.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's happening is you got a mixed tradition because you got a tradition that's asking you to be a warrior, that's asking you to knock people out, that's asking you to get up and stand over people and impose your will when you have a game that's asking you not to do that. So now what needs to happen for the University of Miami is the staff has to catch up with the times. And also the players have to believe in the system. When I went to St. Thomas Aquinas, we won 40 games in a row and we played for George Smith because we believed in the system. And the same thing happened when I got to University of Miami. Nevin didn't mess nothing up. Shoot, when we all got there and we was there, and most of us we got there, a lot of people don't know we was number 2 in the country. Like my freshman year, true freshman year, because I played as a true sophomore year, we was still in the top 5. But what happened, in my personal opinion, like sometimes I feel like coaching, sometimes you coach too hard, or I would say this: you got everything you need, but because you become so prideful in your job and you like, oh man, I'm the head coach, you forget what made you the head coach. You forget about the players that you pick to help you and your regime become better. And that's what I see from the University of Miami. I see that a lot of guys aren't buying into the tradition. A lot of men out there, they're not looking to make the big play. Like when we were there, and even guys before us, what I saw was we always had, it's not necessarily we had the best talent, but doggone, we played like we was the best talent. Like we came out there and we competed for 4 quarters. Like I looked at one of the shows, and I know Blaze was talking about holding up them 4s. Man, that jump was real, bro. When you hold up them 4s, what that meant was I'm going to give everything I got because I'm afraid that if I don't, they going to, like, that's accountability. Another thing, you was afraid not to mess up because what the other players could do to you and Coach Swayze. Because boy, if we lose that game, boy, Coach Swayze about to have 101 10s ready for you hot. And nobody don't want to run 101 10s. So I think what we had, it was a simple factor that we had great coaches and we had accountability. And the accountability came from the players. And that's what I think Miami's lacking. 1, they lacking the rules. 2, they lacking the players holding each other accountable. Because I know when a certain coach took over and we were there, they started changing the tradition. They started saying, oh, you guys are being too tough on people. I'm like, well, what happened when I was in the locker room, man? We, I seen people get taped up. I remember the lights used to flicker, cleats used to fly and knock people out. Like I'm telling you, I seen people get put to sleep in the locker room, and all that changed. And I'm not saying that's the way to do it, but that was the Miami Hurricane way to do it. And I get it, for most people who haven't been in that locker room and who not Hurricane fans, you might disagree with what I'm saying, and that's fine. Everybody can have their own opinion. But I'm telling you as a player that you weren't going to let another player down when you was doing that. And we didn't call that hazing. we call that initiation. That means if you could take all that, nobody on the field gonna be able to get in your psyche. Nobody's gonna be able to harm you mentally. And so now what happens is, I'm not sure we going out there with people that have the tradition of Miami Hurricanes. You know, everybody we brought into, and to go back, everybody we brought into be a head coach, it's always, we gotta eliminate this look. But why? That's the look, the gold teeth, the dreads. Just teach them how to hone that energy, but why take that away? And that's what we getting from everybody who went down to coach Miami. They trying to change Miami from the image standpoint, from the mental standpoint, from the physical standpoint. And I get it, the game has changed, but you still have to let those guys from Miami be the guys from Miami. And I think once they let that happen, they will get the recruits that they need in order to win. They'll get the things, but I know for me looking out, and nothing against the U, I love the U, but if I'm looking at all the schools, I'm just saying, as you know, as somebody who went to college, if I'm looking at all the schools, I want to go to the school that's gonna let my personality shine. And I think right now for the Miami Hurricanes, they're not letting their guys shine because society's telling people that that's not the right look.
You know,
Instead of Miami saying no, like we're gonna get back to being Miami Hurricane. We're gonna get back to intimidating. We're gonna get back to being the rough house Hurricanes. We're gonna and then also we're gonna control these guys. Like, okay, yeah, I know you don't want us out there robbing and doing all that, which we never did that. But at the end of the day, you know, I heard somebody say this, man, look good, feel good, play good. So if you're looking the best you can be, whether that's the gold teeth, whether that's the hair, whether that's the turnover chain, whether that's the rings, whatever it may be, if you looking the best you can be, I doggone guarantee you that you're gonna play well. And that's what I see the Miami Hurricanes lacking. They're lacking at the top the people that's respecting and loving the tradition. We got to get coaches in there that play with our tradition and give back to those kids our tradition, not people trying to make them seem like they're from Stanford.
yeah.
Because we not Stanford.
Let me make
We the Miami
let me make a point on
Hurricanes.
that, Tavares. Great point, by the way. The whole question, Mike, is the U back? Is the U back? Everyone, is the U back? Do you understand how special that era was? That's what today's Miami kids are paying for yesteryear's hate. The team, everyone
Yeah.
hates us because of those canes, which is what made us great. We were dominant. We talked shit. We backed it up. Now we're in a whole different lane. And you know, a lot of time has passed, but that was a very special era. What Tavares is saying makes a lot of sense. You got to let the Miami boys be the Miami boys, is what he's saying. You're trying to contain a personality that doesn't need to be contained because what breeded success. Our arrogance and our cockiness, our success came off that.
And I know that Tavares, you came in the year after Miami had lost the 2002 national title game. You came in 2003, and you're under Larry Coker, and obviously your DC was Randy Shannon. With Randy Shannon being a former Hurricane and everything, like, what was your relationship with those guys? And did you believe a guy like Randy was, you know, trying to do what you're saying, change that narrative or that culture, being now that he was a coach, not a player?
Well, first of all, man, Miami. I was that game that they lost, boy. That was a tough one, man. You know, that penalty. But with that being said, Ohio State was my number one choice.
Mm.
That was my number one choice, and they had undid what they did. I ended up silently committing that. That's why I messed up. I thought when you silently commit, it don't come out. But as soon as I got off that plane, everybody was like, "T, you silently committed to Ohio State." I say, "Well, how you know that?" And everybody's like, "It's in the paper." So I was losing it because I thought when you silently commit somewhere, you know, it don't go out there. So long story short,
I went to work.
I get an NCAA
No,
trouble.
man, I went to work.
I get into NCAA trouble out of nowhere. Like all this stuff happened. They come to St. Thomas. basically I get hit with this ultimatum that if I go to Ohio State, this gonna happen, this gonna happen. So naturally, I'm nervous. I'm like, dang, bro, like, cause it's a lot of other schools that's acting like Ohio State with me. You know, I ain't gonna get into detail with everything, but I tell you, Coach Coker came into my house. Randy Shannon came into my house. Both of them came into my house, and they go, "We're not gonna give you anything, but we'll make sure you make it to the NFL." At that point, I should have knew it was them who said something. But at the end of the day, Coach Shannon got his wish. Larry Coker obviously got his wish. I was so petrified of the death penalty and losing a 4-year scholarship that I went to the University of Miami because of what they said. Now, when I got there, me and Coach Shannon, we had a we had a roller coaster of a ride relationship. You know, it was a lot of ups and downs. Yeah, there's a lot of things that I get upset about Randy Shannon about because I feel like a lot of times he held me back. But at the same time, there's a lot of things that I'm grateful for because he made me the resilient human being that I am. Like nothing can break me. Like after you play for a coach like him, nothing can break you. You know, but like I said, my first year when I first got there, it was all good. But I could see like slowly, even Coach Shannon being a Hurricane guy, he was trying to get away from what we was doing. You know, like he was trying to, no more of this, no more of that. I'm like, dang, Coach, like, why you ain't do that my freshman year? Why we had to get a ball head? You know what I'm saying? Like, why you ain't tell them they couldn't cut our hair off then, you know? And so for me, when I was there, I looked at it like, I saw what Coach Shannon was trying to do, but at the same time, I don't think it was wanted from the players. We didn't want that. We wanted to continue to be the bad boys of Miami. We thought that he brought us there to keep that. You know, Ray Lewis made that hit in the Sugar Bowl. You know, he started popping. I thought we was there to continue to do that. And there was one time he said to me, there ain't going to be no more Sean Taylors. He said that to me. And I'm just looking at him like, well why'd you bring me here then? Like, I want that same attitude. Like, I want to get up and walk around and be the boss on campus. I want everybody to fear me. Like, man, when I walked in and I got a chance, I had one conversation with Sean Taylor. I'm going to tell you this. This is crazy. This is a true story. Like, love the guy to death. R.I.P. Sean Taylor. Had one, like, loving, heartfelt conversation with him. So this is my true freshman year. We get on the bus. So it's a travel team. You got 2 buses. So I done made the team somehow, and now I got to ride the bus. But guess what on that bus? If you ain't, all the big dogs sitting by themselves. So I get in the first seat. You got Vince Wilfork. All these guys sitting in the first 5 rows. I see Vince Wilfork. Can't sit here. I'm like, look at Vince. You supposed to be my relative too. You know, like we related. He told me I can't sit down with him. And then I see Roscoe Parrish. Can't sit there. See Vilma. Can't sit here. See DJ. Can't sit there, man. I got Antrell. All these guys got their own seats. And I'm like, man, this bus ain't big enough for everybody to have their own seat. So you got Fats back there, got his own seat. Everybody got their own seat. So I'm standing, Coach Shannon, like, we ain't moving the bus till he sit down. And I'm looking at Coach Shannon like, man, what you want me to fight right now? We got a game. I ain't trying to fight. I just want to go to the lakes, man, because that's what it's going to turn into. It's going to turn into a goon bay. So next thing you know, I hear this voice say, come on, Rook, sit over here. And I look, and it's Sean Taylor. And I say, damn, like, R.I.P. to him, man. I love that guy for the rest of my life. I always tell his story. And I sat down next to the greatest player, and I, like, on my mama grave, R.I.P. mama too, I never thought it was going to be Sean Taylor was the one who said I could sit next to him. Because he's just the baddest, toughest, man, if you talk about football, bro, he's the definition of football. Him and Willis McGahee. Like, I saw them 2 cats playing. I'm telling you, when I was at St. Thomas, I wore number 2 in practice. I thought I was him, and I tried to hit like Sean Taylor. Like, they left something inside of me that said, man, I could do that too. So, like I said, going to University of Miami and Sean Taylor telling me I could sit next to him was my that's my most memorable and most heartfelt time that I personally had at the University of Miami because, like I said, that's like your childhood hero. You know what I'm saying? Like that's somebody who you look up. And obviously Sean, looking at the age, he was a year older than me. But still, this guy, he set marks, he set bars, like he set the standard of what it was to continue to be a Miami Hurricane. Because he the closest thing that I could relate to, that I have seen. You know what I'm saying? We had the other big ballers, we had the other guys, but that position sitting next to Sean Taylor, that changed everything. And like I said, when Coach Shannon told me, because we talked about Coach, when he said, T, there's not going to be any more Sean Taylors, that really affected me because he didn't understand that that's all I was trying to go to Miami to do.
Right. Yeah.
I wanted to be just like 26.
And
And so,
you know what? You're right, T. Good. And I remember having the conversation with Beast back when, and he wanted to be the next Sean Taylor too, until he just grew out of that size. And I said, I think you may want to go to the linebacker spot. It might be more fitting your size, right? Everybody felt that way about ST, man. Like everybody, and that's what the Miami Hurricane, what this guy's describing to you is what it is, man. And the fans who weren't around or weren't alive at that time, they don't understand. So like that's when they're talking about getting back to the U. This is what he's describing.
Right.
This is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
When you saw Tolbert Bain and Benny Blaze sitting with us, man, those guys, they set the model. They built the model for what this thing is.
Yeah.
And so when
I remember getting punished. Here go another situation. So you asked me about the coaching staff. I remember getting punished for, in my thoughts, being a young man trying to bring the U back, hitting people, pointing at my flexing at my arm. I remember being punished for doing that. So, like I said, dude,
I remember that.
It had changed, and the coaching staff, what they were trying to do is they were listening too much to the media. They were listening too much to society. And so society deemed Miami Hurricanes bad. But it's crazy. They deem us bad with all the rappers, Snoop. We throwing up the U like the U in the 80s. You know what I mean? Like how we so bad, but we in every rap song and everybody like us. And I watched West Side Connections. They all had on University of Miami Hurricane jerseys.
Look at the Fab Five. That was the basketball version of what the U used to be. The Chris Webber, Jalen Rose. Jalen Rose said, man, we idolize the Hurricanes. They got that whole swag move from us. Man, we set the standard on this motherfucker, man. We built this shit. Florida State was always a great football team. We were a little bit better. But we had a swag that was on our own platform. We were Hell's Angels, man.
Yep.
And good at it.
And we're going to get back to the Hurricanes in just a second, but I do want to bring this up, Tavares. I know that, obviously, inevitably, you went in the third round in 2008 to the Baltimore Ravens, and you started in 2009 next to another legend, Ray Lewis, right? So I wanted to kind of give the fans, they love the Sean Taylor stories. They love the Ray Lewis stories. Can you tell us how it was playing next to Ray Lewis, and can you give us a little story about him or anything like that for everybody?
Ray Lewis was great, man. Ray Lewis was a big brother from the jump. As soon as I got there, wanting to catch me up on the film, training camp, saying, look, Rook, you with me training camp. Like how many times you get to have Ray Lewis, or usually Ray Lewis has his own room in training camp. But obviously, I was a special talent. I had no clue. Everybody called me Baby Ray, all these nicknames. I had no clue until I got there and I saw how much I was supposed to be the next Ray. They had articles about that. And so Ray really took me in. And when Ray did that, what it did was it opened up the door for everybody else to really mess with me. They like, shoot, Ray messing with him. Like, you got to think about it. You coming to one of the nastiest defenses ever, and the nastiest defensive player is your big brother. So you automatically get, you get the open door to everything. Like I get to, I ain't saying I miss practice often, but I can miss some practices if I want to. I could sit back. I can get different things done for me. So Ray was great, and then obviously my next training camp, I was able to stay with Suggs. But back on the same token with Ray, what it was to have Ray Lewis as a teammate meant everything. That definitely that molded and sparked my NFL journey and my career. I knew what it was. We had a saying, "Play like a Raven." That meant something because to me, when I saw them playing like a Raven, that reminded me like playing like a Hurricane. Honestly, I was like, shoot, I could do this. I could do this. So I get there and Coach Harbaugh tells me this. He say, man, we building bullies. I say, okay, I could do that. I'm fresh out of Miami. I like this. And this before player safety. So when I was Coach Harbaugh's first defensive player ever drafted. Joe Flacco was drafted, Ray Rice, and then me. So I feel honored to be the Ravens' first defensive player ever, not ever drafted, but John Harbaugh's first defensive player ever drafted. Like, that's an honor. That means I'm the prototype. You know what I mean? When you talk about defensive players that John Harbaugh likes and the Ravens likes, I was one of those guys to set the standard. And so being able to play next to Ray, man, watching his intensity, watching his effort, watching the way that he led the team, it was on another level. Like watching the way him and Ed Reed watched tape, because Ed was there too. Let's not forget about Rizzle and McGay, he was there. So we had 4 Hurricanes there at the same time. It was Willis, Ray, Ed, and I was there. And so what I learned from all of those guys was that there ain't no school, there ain't no players, and I'm using the word ain't, like the University of Miami. As soon as I got that hands down, when I seen them 4 Canes and how they dominated, I say there is nothing, no school, no player, nobody on this team that is like the University of Miami. And at that point, I gained this confidence, and I would walk around because I knew I went to the U. Them boys set a standard. That's what Ray Lewis and them did. That what Ed Reed and them did. When I got to the league, it was almost like people was watching me, and I'm just a rookie. They was trying to see what I'm gonna do.
I gotta put you on hold for 1 second. Perfect segue into these 2019 LSU Tigers. Man, what the fuck are we talking about, man? You hear the names of this dude. Who was on your bus, man? I want you to tell us again, who was on your bus? Man, give us the bus ride.
Hey, we had Roscoe Parrish. We had Frank Gore. We had Big Vince Wilfork. We had Kellen Winslow Jr. We had Antrell Rowe, Kelly Jennings. We had should I keep going on? Vernon Carey. We had Vernon Carey.
Before we just stop these pussies out, man. What the fuck are we talking about? Fuck. Yo, what'd you guys do in the NFL? Man, you dominated shit. Boom.
Dominated. And that's another story right there. When I came from college to the NFL was nothing like my college practices. Try running around after Sonoris Moss and Devin Hester all day. I ain't seen nothing like that. I on any of my NFL teams, the speed was not matched from a University of Miami practice.
Man, I hope everybody watches this shit, man. Fuck everyone else but the U, man.
That's what it is, man.
Fuck
yeah,
that.
That's 2009. So just give you a little insight, Tavares. Our videos have gone really viral on this topic of this 2019 and 2001 Miami Hurricanes. Obviously, you weren't on the team yet, but it was just everyone's, oh, no. I mean, I think it's just more because it's newer, right? The 2019 just happened not too long ago. So people forget how dominant. I mean, 17 first-round draft picks, 38 players in the league, on that 01 team. Is just they wouldn't stand a chance.
Like,
I mean,
man.
Too much.
Listen, you came up underneath that hierarchy. You played with them, right? I know you on jet skis with them, right? Hey, man, just tell the people, man, how do you look at someone out there, a common fan, comparing the 2019 LSU team to the dudes you grew up idolizing and then playing next to and underneath coming up?
Well, I'll put it like this. Not to take anything from LSU.
Great team.
But
great team.
Great team.
Offensively.
But I don't but I stopped watching football after the rules changed.
Mm.
So that's one thing right there. Like, it's not even fun. So to go back to the 2001 team and the 2019 team, for me, it's not even a question because of what they would do to them. I don't know if any of you guys have any little brothers, but that's what it would look like. It would be just it would look exactly the same. And I get it. The rules, they got to understand, like the 2019 players for LSU was protected. The 2001 team, they didn't need protection. So you got two different people. Like, man, when you let them floodgates out, like I said, you got to think too. Every year, the University of Miami was putting out first round draft picks. Every year, we had starters that were backups. So that's where it would get real crazy to see. The game is that we just had more talent. And I mean, they can say whatever they want to say, but being somebody who's played, and like I said, from the level of talent that we had, from the size to the speed to the people that get, like, we're not Matt Walters, like we talk about Big V wasn't even really starting at the time. Matt Walters, like, they don't understand what that team could really do to them. So from me as a player, all I'm saying is that a lot of guys wouldn't have got open. They would have got manhandled, and guys would have got ran by, and Miami would have came out in this physical style offense, and they would have ran the ball down their throat. And this is another thing. You knew Miami was so good because we didn't even come out and spread, and we can beat you in pass. We played two receivers on each side. We played I-backs, receiver, tight end, receiver, two backs. We didn't come out with a 4 receiver set, but we still could throw.
Our wide receivers in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Big Drake. So
Yep, Andre Johnson. Yep.
Come on, man.
Like I said, man, depending on the rules, I get LSU's happy. But if, like, from the rules that I played, because I played before player safety, the rules didn't get changed to the new rules to my second or third year in the NFL. So in college and how we play, we're talking about, man, we knocked Ricks out the game, dude. You think LSU's quarterback would have stayed in there? We can hit him? You can't even hit quarterbacks no more.
Hey, T Good, let me ask you a question, man. I'm gonna just give you 4 names, and then I'm gonna throw a question. Big V, Black, Doogie, Andrew Williams, Corn, Jamal Green. And we'll even throw Fats in. All right. What's LSU's offensive line do with that? That's what I'm saying. Man.
Let's go. Let's go. 7 to 10 sacks.
Man,
we're gonna have.
You know how we would treat that. You know how we would treat that line, like the 7th floor crew. That's what we're talking about, man. Oh shit! Shout out to Marvelous Marvin, man. Yeah. Woo! Oh man, man.
If they only knew, baby. If they only knew.
I do want to ask one thing about, and we're going to go back on this, and then it's the Super Bowl you played in. Obviously, you then left Baltimore and you went to San Francisco. Unfortunately, inevitably lost in the Super Bowl to the Ravens. But they, my question more is, like, that whole light out, like the lights went out and all that. Like, how was that whole experience? First of all, playing in the Super Bowl, but then going through all of that and inevitably, unfortunately, losing. How was that for you?
The Super Bowl was great because for me, the loss hurt, but a lot of people don't understand, like you said, the 49ers hadn't been to the playoffs since 2002. So I was drafted to the Ravens, and I had been to the playoffs every year. I had been to 2 AFC championships with the Baltimore Ravens. Should have went to 3. I lost 2 of those AFC championship games to the Steelers. I know Nev, that's all right. Hey, he had 1 or 2 choices. He had me or the Steelers, so I'm sure he was happy. But I lost 2 of those games to the Steelers, so that was really tough, dude. I just wanted to get over the hump one time to feel what it felt like to go to Super Bowl, because when you lose right there at that AFC championship, dude, it's tough.
Right.
So when I went to San Francisco before week 1 of the season, and that happened because, they kept pushing a trade. They wanted to trade. I told them I didn't really care. I said, do what you got to do. You know, if you guys want, but I was clearly having one of the best camps I've ever had. I was locking down everybody. Dean Pease had me at cornerback, linebacker. I was playing safety. He actually ran the defense like Rex Ryan. Like, I wasn't just a linebacker sitting in there. Like, I was like, dang, Dean Pease, because he had came from New England Patriots when they was winning all those championships. So he was our D coordinator that year. And I had an excellent camp. I was banged up a lot in the preseason, but, you know, I was getting over those injuries, getting ready to have a great season. And right before the first game of the year, Ozzie Newsome comes to me and says, hey, the Niners, they want that trade. And I say, look, Ozzie, I say, man, you know, you drafted me. I'm thankful for everything. But I was like, enough with the games. You know, if they want me, then let's make the deal happen. Like, I don't want to keep saying they want me. That, you know, like, that's frustrating. But when you don't know where you're going to be at and you just trying to play as, you know, as an athlete. So I didn't know if I was going to get traded. I wasn't going to get traded. They kept saying it. They kept making these rumors. And sure enough, he goes, well, they want you for less money. So the Ravens had high tendered me. They tendered me for my year, which they owe me. They owe me some M's, obviously. Mm-hmm. And so what happened? Ozzie goes, no. He goes, they want you to go over there on the trade, but you got to play for them for cheaper. And I said, that's fine. Ozzie goes, okay, if you're going to play for them for cheaper, you're going to play for us for less. And then ripped up the trade, hung up the phone, and then I had the ultimatum. He ripped up my contract and gave me a $500,000 contract, way less than what I was supposed to be paid. And I hit them with the peace. Like, John Harbaugh hugged it out. Rex or Chuck Pagano, we hugged it out. Dean Pease hugged it out. Everybody was sad, bro. I wasn't supposed to leave. That was a mistake. Wow. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody knew I was the heir to that throne. And the same thing kind of happened in the league with coaching him and all that. It wasn't going to be no more Ray Lewis's. And I respect that. I know the game changing. Y'all don't want those type of, you know, that type of fit. You know, I'm a Miami guy. So I say I'm tired of being called Baby Ray. I love Ray Lewis to death. And I hope he sees this interview and know it was nothing ever personal with us. I love Ray to death. But I knew at that point it was time for me to try to go somewhere else and make a name for myself because the Baltimore Ravens, we had parted ways. You know, we were seeing things different. So the Niners end up signing me up. They gave me $150,000 more than what the Ravens was going to give me. And this was before week 1. And when I got there, the Niners hadn't been to the playoffs since 2002. Like, to take that team from that, to be a leader and to have them try to hold you back because you got a certain D coordinator that really don't like you or don't like what you stand for or don't like the way that you present yourself. Vic Fangio was kind of like Randy Shannon. I don't think he really cared for me in the aspect of wanting to see me succeed, but he did care for me as a human. I ain't going to say that. But as wanting me to succeed, I think Vic Fangio was the same way as him. Like, I've always been a part of winning teams. You know what I'm saying? St. Thomas, to you, we came in hot, you know. Baltimore Ravens, to answer your question, I have no regrets. I love the Super Bowl game because it was like practice. I might have not won the game, but I was kicking my teammates' asses. I was throwing people on the ground. It felt like practice, and I knew I was going to handle all their behinds because I had started with the Ravens. You know what I mean? Like, if you're a Baltimore Raven and you were on the starting defense, you know you're a tough son of a gun. And everybody who was on that Baltimore Ravens team knew that when they went against me, I'm going to go hard for 60 minutes. Right. And that's what Miami Hurricanes do as well. I think every Miami Hurricane, we were genetically coded to ball for 60 minutes. And that's the difference between the U and every other team. It's our genetics. It's our buildup. We coded the ball.
100%. And, you know, it's a perfect segue back into the University of Miami. And we're going to close with a couple of these 2 questions. You know, one, obviously, you know, last year was a little bit of a disappointment, you know, with having Cam Ward and not going further than what we inevitably did. But what do you see for this year, Tavares, you know, from the Canes? And, you know, we acquire Carson Beck. Wanted to get your thoughts on, you know, what you see this year going in with Beck and all this.
We got to get tough on the offense and defensive line. That's what wins games. Mm-hmm. We need to push people back on both sides of the ball. Anytime you move back in football, you lose. So if you're on defense and the team hitting you and you're going backwards, we losing yards. If you're on offense and you're going backwards, We losing yard. So we need to start going forward. And that's my thing to Coach Cristobal and everybody there. What I want to see is us start moving forward. And also some type of schematics to the play calling. Like set your plays up. Like, you know what I mean? Like we running these plays, but you know, are we setting up the next play? Are we being meticulous on how the defense is playing us and setting up the next play to attack the defense? Those are the things that I don't know, but I also want to see if I could see anything. I want to see Miami Hurricanes, like I said, get back to being the physical team that we were. Get back to tackling people. Get back to imposing our will the best way we can within the new rules. Mm-hmm. And I also want to see if we can start bringing people around. You know, I see Michael Irvin. I love Mike. He went to St. Thomas. But from my standpoint, I love Mike Dell. Now, I'm not saying nothing about Mike. Mike went to St. Thomas. He went to the U. But from my standpoint, there's a lot more players that have came from the U that might be a little bit more recognizable to the younger kids. Like we was talking about, you know, you bring back the, you know, we talked about Beasons, we talked about different people like that. And I think that we need to get back to bringing people back and bringing our older guys back and letting them talk. Like I said, Mike does a good job, and we saw what that did for the team. There was one game Michael Irvin got crumped, and next thing you know, that receiver started balling. Man, what do you think if you got Edgerrin James and Ed Reed and Ray Lewis and you got Santana Mars? Like if you got these, but Ken Dorsey, bring them back for a game. Like bring them back. Okay, they had Cam Ward. Think about it. They had Cam Ward. They were one of the best doggone people we ever seen. And doggone, we won with Ken Dorsey. You don't think Ken Dorsey could have showed Cam Ward something? Like, and I ain't saying, Cammy, we respect your game. I ain't saying Ken Dorsey got nothing on you. I don't think he could hold your jock athletically, but up here,
yeah,
that man, what they said, 36 games, 37 games in 2 years. Come on, those are the people we need to start bringing back to the team. Let's not kick them away. Let's not say, oh, they were even Nevin. Why are we, anybody who had any affiliation or association with Nevin, obviously they understand what they said about him was false. So at the end of the day, why were we all punished? I knew there was plenty of times I thought I couldn't even come back to the school. So if that's me, somebody who was the leading tackler his senior year, how many other people feel like me? But I still rep the U. I never not rep that U. Even though I feel like there's sometimes they don't rep me and don't ask me to do certain things, you can ask Nevin. It ain't never been because I bled with y'all. I got it tatted on me, bro. It's eat that. So I can't change my mind.
right.
But at the end of the day, I feel like Miami don't treat us like we tattooed on them.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And that's how they need to start treating these players and these younger guys. And if they do that, I see Miami going like this. Because if you got a bunch of us who want to win, who used to winning, who finna give them positive feedback, and them boys finna run through a wall for coach, man.
Try to tell the people, man,
Yeah.
about the GM situation. But you got people outside, you know, they think they know shit. They don't know shit.
Yeah.
And you're hearing it from a dude who is from here, played here, watched guys like from our spot dominate at the next level. So maybe some of the fans will listen to Tavares, if not me.
So my question is, Tavares, you know, Mario Cristobal is a former Miami Hurricane, right? Like he understands that code that you're talking about. Do you see him being that guy to inevitably bring us back to prominence?
He can, but he can't be scared of what people gonna say. That be the real thing. Like, we got you in there, Coach Cristobal, not be one of us. You acting like you still from Oregon. Come on, man. You ain't, man, Coach Cristobal used to get pumped with me, boy. Like, and I don't know how he is because I haven't been in there. But what I'm saying is, yes, Mario Cristobal does have to answer. But he cannot go into these seasons saying, I wonder what people going to say about me. That's what he's doing. That's what everybody do when they get to Miami because, bro, you are under, we talk about a microscope, but you under something even smaller than a microscope when you're at the University of Miami. So what happens is a lot of people they get nervous because they don't want to be the person that messed up. They don't want to be the person that gets ridiculed. And so, do I think Coach Cristobal could bring everything back? Absolutely, he can. But the first thing he got to do is not be afraid of what the media gonna say about him, and he has to go into this season. My personal opinion. Now, obviously, Coach Cristobal, I have nothing but respect for him. Mario, like, he loved me when I was at the University of Miami. I remember locking, every time I'd be out there locking Greg Olson behind down, doing whatever, he'd be like, "What's up, T? You gonna lock down somebody today?" So I love Coach Cristobal. So don't get me wrong when I'm saying this, but I think the problem is with Miami, and it could be I don't know who at the top, but all I know is that since I've been there, they wanted things to change. It's been a big, big concern with the athletic directors, with Miss Shalala, and I love her to death too. I love everybody who gave me an opportunity to be there. But what I see is that some things they look at are negative from the program. And some of those negative things, we need those things to be successful. We need those things for Coach Cristobal, because football is nasty. It's football. It's an attacker sport. It's a vicious sport. It's a violent sport. Yet we made it our rules. And so, yeah, there are rules to this game, but this is still what wins and loses the game right here. This and this. You got to have a heart to keep fighting, and you got a mind to know what you're doing. So I see Coach Cristobal doing a great job. I think this year, Coach Cristobal, like I said, big thing with him, don't listen to the naysayers. Make Miami be Miami again. Stop being scared of Miami being Miami. I know what it looks like. It's like somebody trying to tell you, "Hey man, if you bring back Miami the wrong way, and I don't know what people telling them. I know they got stigma. People got to go to class. They got to have graduation rates. But hell, when people graduating after 3 years, nobody wasn't caring about the graduation rate. We'll come back and get it later. See, they had it messed up. We didn't have low graduation rates because people weren't smart. We had low graduation rate because everybody was going to the league. So that's what we need to get back to. Like Coach Cristobal is a great recruiter. The man's a great recruiter. I think you add Nevin on their shoe, we'll have everybody in the country. So at the end of the day, Coach Cristobal, he can get players. I think if he add Nevin, he will get more players. But at the same time, when you add those players, when you bring them players to Miami, like I said, there is a stigma that we are the bad boys, that we are the bad guys. And every coach who goes down there, their job is on the line if one person messes up. And I need the fans, I need the athletic department, and I need everybody who holds Miami Hurricane, the tradition in their heart, to let that go. Let's stop believing that. They're not bad boys just because what they do on the field. Sometimes, yeah, you can get messed up off the field, but we need to stop saying, "Man, they bad boy." Nah, man, it's a switch. You can turn it on and off. It's a switch. You playing a role. And at the end of the day, we're not playing the role of Miami Hurricanes. We're not playing that role of the guys who invented swagger with them black shields. We not coming out there playing the role of the guys who impose their will. We talking about knock people out. We talking about hurt quarterbacks, which you can't do that no more, but still hit them hard. And that's what I want to see Coach Cristobal do this year, because I got faith in him. But the only way he ever gonna do something is if he's not afraid of the backlash he's gonna get for letting that team be Miami Hurricanes.
I think in conclusion, Tavares says a lot about what I say as far as it takes a Miami guy to know a Miami guy. A Miami guy looks a certain way and plays a certain way.
Yep.
It's a very unique setup, that school,
Mm-hmm.
that football program. Anyway.
So Tavares, man, we appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much for coming on for the show here. For the last thing for the fans, what's your NIL money if you're coming out of St. Thomas, 2002, 2003? What's Miami paying you?
Man, so my stats, it says that my combine stats, I was the most dominating defensive player in the state of Florida during my day. So if that's true, they said it, not me. If I'm the most dominating defensive player in the state of Florida, since they said it, I need 2 to 3 M's, man, right now. right away.
They just paid an offensive lineman $2 million, so I think it's reasonable to give you more than that.
Hey, right away, man. I would have been on South Beach, man, doing whatever, man. What they needed me to go out there and sell cars or be on the yacht like this, I'd be out there, man.
Are you going to play at South Dakota State for $2 to $3 million? You go anywhere.
I'm gone for $2 to $3 million.
Listen, I ain't bringing my yacht out to South Dakota, dog. I'm just letting you know, man. We could go.
Hey, I'm gonna have to buy me some winter clothes now.
Yeah, man. We can go on snowmobiles. Anyway, T.
Nah, we probably wouldn't go to South Dakota now. I might have to renege it out.
Take a pay cut and stay here. Yeah. Hey, man. Shout out to Byron and Robin, man. Much love. You know how I feel about them. It's been way too long, man.
Thank you so much, Tavares. Before you guys leave, click that subscribe button. And as always, guys, we'll catch you on the next one.